from the point blank. Uh-oh, what song? What song is that? What song?
Oh, that's Nelly.
Is that Nelly? Yeah. Yeah, it is Nelly. Yeah, that's Nelly.
Yeah.
See, y'all didn't know this how we starting the show today.
We started the show. We playing Nelly.
Hey, watch it now. We may have to pay some royalties if you say that.
Well, we just called his name. We didn't
play the music. Okay, got it. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, listeners all, boy, do we have a show for you today. And you know what? And we have an expert witness that's going to join us.
We got expert witnesses now.
An expert witness.
Are we going to swear him in?
Experts is...
Are we going to swear him in?
We're going to swear at him. And he's going to swear back. So, listen, my name is Adolphus Pruitt.
And I'm the Reverend Darrell Gray.
Darrell, I know that you know, that we all know, that for some reason, people are getting displaced out of their homes.
It's a lot of it going on, and I tell you, I think that we've known it for some time. We hear the horror stories, but I think that just recently, I don't know if it's social media. I don't know if we're just paying more attention. I don't know if it's just blown up that big. But now we're talking more about it. And it could be because it's not, Adolphus, the ones and twos. It's not the one family here and the one family there. You know, we're talking about dozens, scores of people. So
it ain't just St. Louis. Ladies and gentlemen, for example, there was a senior building in Houston, Texas.
Yep.
It got hit with Katrina and floods and stuff. And those people, BJ, those people refused to leave. Mm-hmm. They filed a class action suit because they're trying to put them up out of there. But more than anything, it took them 4 years to even begin to build a new building, a new home for them. They were going to be displaced. Then, of course, in Jennings, they're on Christmas in 2022, on Christmas Day. Folks in the apartment complex in Jennings and the pipes burst at Fairview Village Senior Living. Mm-hmm. Displaced on Christmas and stayed displaced for weeks. Stuck in a hotel. Folks didn't want to pay the hotel bill and this and that. And then, Darrell, just recently in December, a year later, mm-hmm. folks in the nursing home, Northview.
Yeah.
And the pipes didn't burst in it. What burst was the pocketbooks.
They just put them out. They just put them out. You're right.
The owner said, I can't pay the folks no more.
Can't do it.
So shut it down. So folks are being displaced.
But you know what? All of this, there's one common denominator, or maybe even two. Number one, we're talking about people who are elderly. And number two, we're talking about people who are economically disadvantaged. And so I think that when we begin to look at it, and I think that I'm glad we have our expert.
Yeah, we're going to get him in here.
I'm glad we got it. But I think that that's the other thing, Adolphus, that people need to be paying attention to. Those two things. Number one, the most vulnerable. We're talking about vulnerable people, be it elderly, be it people who are economically challenged. We're talking about the most vulnerable. And we're talking about the reality that the people who own these buildings know that they are renting and or, I want to say serving, but really underserving vulnerable people. And so without guidelines, without restrictions, without recourse, these people, these folks, these owners, landlords, continue to prey on the most vulnerable within our society.
And on that note, let's folks, just so that when you look on the news, because we're going to talk about the Heritage House. Mm-hmm. So when you look on the news and you see folk on there having to leave because of the water damage and this and that, and it don't just impact the residents there.
Right.
It impacts their relatives and the loved ones who have some responsibility for them. Mm-hmm. And so we have somebody who has some loved ones in the Heritage House that when it happened had to step up, take care of their parents, And so Daryl and I can tell you what we've heard.
But he can tell you what he knows.
And of course, and of course, if Daryl and I hear it, you know it's the truth.
It's got to be the truth.
It's got to be.
Well, no, not if we hear it, but if we repeat it. Not if we hear it, but if we repeat it. Right.
Okay, if we hear it and repeat it, that makes it true.
Right.
Okay,
right,
I got you. I got you. That you know what? That's a true statement. But more seriously, BJ the DJ, our show producer,
BJ the legendary DJ.
His parents were residents at the Heritage House. And BJ, what we want you to do is tell us what happened when you got the call and then everything after that.
Right.
Well, thank you guys for having me come on the show. And this is the first time that I'm speaking about this publicly.
Oh.
You know, I haven't been in public talking about it because what I wanted to do was grab as much information as I can to watch this entire process and how things were going to go. Just to talk about the phone call. I did not get a phone call.
Oh.
No, I did not get a phone call to say, hey, and I'm on my parents' emergency list. I'm supposed to be on the emergency list because I'm their power of attorney. So I did not get a call. I actually was just going there that day just to give my mom her medicine that morning.
Wow.
And it was when I walked in, I pulled up and I said, man, why is all these cars, parked up here at the door that you walk in? I mean, they was parked all over the parking lot and everything. And so I just began to walk up. And when I walk up, I just was like, man, this is weird. So then I look down the first floor hall. You see ceiling towels out. They're out, and you see people in the lobby. And, of course, you see the cameras.
Right.
People speaking about, they're here for the elderly, and the cameras are going, and you see people standing around. But the building is like cold. It's like freezing. And so I didn't know, still at that point, I didn't know what was going on. And then I get to the elevator. I go up on the elevator. I get out off the elevator and to my mom's floor. They're on the 4th floor. And I look down the hallway, and you can tell that the carpet was kind of wet. So then I walk in, and, my mom and my dad, they got blankets wrapped around them. And I'm like, man, what's going on? And my dad was like, well, seemed like a pipe burst. You know what I'm saying? That's what they said when you got no heat. I was like, really? I said, do you know when it's going to come back on? He's like, they ain't told us nothing. I went, okay, all right. So first thing I did was gave my mom her medicine, ran out, went to Walmart to get some heaters.
Right.
Because they need heat.
Right.
They got to have heat. So then after I got back, I began to ask questions like, hey, do y'all know when the heat going to come back on? And so nobody could give answers. I mean, is somebody here working on it? Is what's going on? Nobody had any answers. And, I don't mean to, throw anybody under the bus.
Throw them under the bus, BJ. Go ahead. Them your parents.
The person that was the property manager at the time, they came, knocked on the door, and they go, at this time, I'm not a property manager. I'm here with my community hat on because we could say it's all about life right now. And I'm like, okay, so now I can't ask you questions about what's going to happen. So my first question was, so what's going to happen with all the tenants in the building?
Right.
Or do y'all have to evacuate? Well, that's a decision later. I said, okay, but what's going to happen? What are y'all going to do to take care of the resident? And then the statement was, well, that's when the renter's insurance come in. And I'm like, really? But I do believe a lot of people may not have renter's insurance.
Right.
So what's going to happen? Well, we don't know, that type of thing. And so I just said, okay. And then they were talking about they're trying to get an update on what the needs are of the senior citizens, stuff like that. And so at that point, I decided that my parents were not going to stay at the Heritage House because the word that was given to us was that we could either stay,
Right.
or you can take, or you can leave. So the tenants could stay or leave. Those who want to leave, you have that option to go ahead and leave if you like. And those
But
of
leave
you
and go where, BJ?
wherever it is that you
Okay.
can go.
I got you.
You know what I
Okay,
mean?
right.
Wherever it is that you can go. So I was like, okay. So they gave us that option. So I made the executive decision that I was getting my parents
Right.
out of there.
Right.
So I had to figure out where they're going. So for a few hours, I made phone calls, and then I was able to reach a person that I needed to reach because I said, well, at least I can put them here
Right.
because this may only be an overnight
Right.
thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? That type of thing. It may be an overnight thing.
Listen,
that type of thing.
Let's take a quick break. This is riveting. People need to understand this. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back with more of Adolphus Pruitt and BJ, the legendary DJ, and they might even let me say something. Give us a few minutes. We'll be right back with more of Point Black.
And we're back. And folks, we're talking about the Heritage House is a multi-story building in St. Louis, and it had at least 120 tenants. And the heat went out, the pipes burst, and the residents are now displaced. We're talking about displacement. And BJ was just giving us the background on what was going on. So BJ, I want to make sure I understand. Because you said one thing. You said they said that's where renter's insurance come in.
Yes, I was going to ask
Now,
the same thing.
I don't know. I thought renter's insurance only covered loss of property.
Yeah, well,
Right.
yeah. That was
Right.
the statement. You know, because I was asking them what they're going to do with these residents.
Right.
And then that's when they said the renter's insurance come in. And so, like I said, they gave us the option to leave or go. So
Right.
I decided my parents were leaving. So when I got back, right, because I made sure that my parents' apartment was warm because I bought heaters for them. When I got back later that evening, then I was told that you could take them to Ballpark Village
Right.
Hilton Hotel,
Right.
but it's going to cost you $50 a night. Now, the hotel that I got for my parents was $60 a night.
Okay.
So I had said, okay, this is not going to make sense
Right.
because I'm going to put my parents in this hotel and they get to live like they're in an apartment because it's a suite.
Right.
To take them to a hotel that's $10 cheaper and they're going to be in one room.
And they're going to be in one room.
So I put them in there that night, and then maybe about noon the next day, they said if they're at the Ballpark Hilton, that the property is taking care of it. Now we got another issue. My mom has dementia. My dad health declined when he got COVID. So it wasn't a good thing to take two elderly people from this hotel and now move them here. Health-wise, mentally-wise.
Musical chairs.
You
You didn't
know
want
what
to
I'm
play
saying?
musical chairs.
No, I
What you
wasn't doing
mean?
that, right? And so then the thing is, because I didn't take them to the Hilton,
Right.
I get nothing.
That's what I was going to I was going to ask you that.
I got to
though.
pay for. I'm currently now still paying for that hotel
But that's
stay.
what I was gonna ask
because
you.
they like, well, they're not at the Hilton, so you need to bring them. I'm going, but that's not a good thing to do that. That type of thing. So we fast forward, we get them there, and then they were like, you go up to the building, chain on the door. You got to get some more, needed more medicine, need more underwear, need more clothes, because my parents left out with just the clothes on their back.
Right.
Now you can't get in the building at all. You can't get in. So now I got to go to the store and buy clothes, underwear, and all that stuff for my parents. Then they turn around and you asking questions. When will this be fixed? They give you a number to call. You call the number, you leave a message, you don't get a return call or nothing. And then the other part is, if you are not at the Hilton where they got everybody housed, you don't get information as to what's going on. You get no information. You don't get a phone call. You don't get anything.
So if you're not in a spot where they do the leaflet drop.
Right. Right. But the deal is that there was a huge number of people that left because of the option. You could leave or you could stay.
Right.
So people are out there that left
to go anywhere they could.
They could.
But I'm thinking though, assuming though, when you give, and that's why I asked, when you get that option, you're quote unquote assuming that if the building is kind of releasing you from that they are going to cover.
Well, they're going to fix it, and then if it don't get fixed, then they cover it. You know what I'm saying? It should be that the people that was given that option, and if I was told that it was $50 a night that I got to pay, and I opt to go somewhere else, that what about my compensation for you saying it was $50?
Even if they give you the 50 and don't give you the 10.
That's fine.
Right.
But then here's the other thing, right? So you couldn't get in the building. Then they say you can come in the building between 9 and 4.
Okay.
Right? To get some items that you need.
Right.
You got 15 minutes to get up to your apartment to get what you need to get and come back down. But here's the deal. Seniors are sitting there in the lobby, right, for about an hour to an hour and a half to go up for 15 minutes. Wait for their turn
for 15 minutes.
Wait, it's a lottery.
Wow.
4M, 4T, 4D, 19B.
Wow.
So they're sitting there waiting all that time to go up to 15 minutes. So we go up the elevator with my dad. When we left, we secured the apartment.
Gotcha.
We did. The apartment.
When they first left.
When we first left, we locked the door.
Right.
We get upstairs, the apartment door is wide open.
All of them.
All of them on that floor, wide open. Just open. Then we go in the apartment. My parents don't have any electricity. So I'm with my mom and dad trying to get stuff, and we got the flashlight on the phone trying to figure out how to go through the apartment. But that's not it. They took their furniture and pushed it to the center of the room. And nobody is telling us why is it that way. Nobody is saying...
Oh, so wait a minute. I want you to explain. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm going to stop you there. You done got me now. So you leave your house and your furniture is set up the way you live.
Yep.
And you come back and all your SHIT is in the center of the room.
It's just sitting there in the center of the room.
Somebody went in there and moved it and put it in the center of the room.
Right. And then,
was that in every room?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just know what's happening in our room.
Right.
And I know that we didn't have any electricity. You can't, nobody.
Were any personal belongings missing? I mean,
any
valuables?
You can't tell right now.
Okay.
You can't tell because there's no electricity. You can't see.
He had 15 minutes.
I got 15 minutes.
Other than what he grabbed in 15 minutes, everything else is still there.
It's still there. Okay. I got right. So, and then you're asking questions. You're like, yo, why are the doors open? Why y'all leaving the doors open? Well, we're trying to dry the building out. I'm like, okay, you got to leave the doors open. And then I talked to the guy that was at Samsung.
Right.
I talked to him, and I asked him. I said, "Do you know when this is going to be fixed?"
Gotcha.
And he said, "We have no idea. We don't have a date yet. We don't know. Do you know when people will be able to come back?" And he said no. And then there was the assistant property manager. I talked with her. I said, and she's just shaking her head. She was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then she pulls out her phone. And she said, "We just had a meeting at 2:00. Mm-hmm. And she shows me the information that this place is being shut down for a year, that this guy from Samsung sat there and acted like he didn't know. Now, here's the other piece to this. They have an intercom system in that building that they can get on and tell people what's going on. The day of the incident, they never got on the intercom to tell the senior citizens exactly what was going on. They were making it, when you walked up that day, you felt like it was a heating problem and it will be fixed in a matter of hours. They didn't go into, here's what's really wrong, here's what's really happening. And there were a lot of the residents asking questions, and the one guy was like, yo, if in factor that y'all can tell me what's going on, I can make an educated decision on whether I want to stay here or not. And they will not answer his question.
So when did you get the call that says we cutting off? Of course, it didn't impact you, but we no longer going to pay for a hotel room.
I didn't get a call.
Oh, that's right. Oh.
I never get. Everything that's coming to me now is secondhand.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Because I'm able to talk to certain people, but the company itself and management from down there, they are not communicating with the people. Well, I can say, especially my parents that are down there that are not at the Hilton. Then they going, well, we got housing fair coming up, and you find that out somewhere else. You don't get it directly. Right. I have not once got a single phone call from that building about my parents. And when we went down there, right, I gave them the information to call me, and I let them know that I am the power of attorney, and I handle all their legal affairs from financial to healthcare to where they stay and everything. I have not received a single call from them. So for me, as everybody's on the television and they're talking about this situation, they're not talking about the things that are going on, like how the seniors are being treated to get their stuff, how the apartments are wide open and unsecured, and the ideal that the people that are not at the Hilton, that they are not getting any information.
So let me ask you. Here's a question I'm going to ask him, because his parents are not at the hotel. They're at a different hotel. But my understanding is they came back like a week or so and told the folks that you had to be out by January, by the end of the week. They would give them like a week to get out.
January 31st.
Right. Yeah. Then they extended it and said, okay, we're going to give you till February the 6th. And how do you find a new place to live, make application, get everything done? And if you only got 15, so how do you do that in a short period of time? But even worse is, if you're going to find a new place to live, how do you take the furniture? Because was all the furniture in your parents' apartment, was it wet and messed up?
No.
So how do you, if you found a new place, how do you move?
That's the question. That's the question. They're not telling us that, because once you find a place and they say you can move, they're still saying you got 15 minutes to get your stuff.
Yeah, and that was the thing that got me, because even in all of the news articles and everything I read, that is consistent, that 15 minutes to retrieve all of your major possessions. You're giving 15 minutes. That's just absurd. But the other question too, though, Adolphus, that you asked, when we talk about this renter's insurance, what does that cover? I mean, we've already said, in the immediate, with heat and health, as you said, BJ, the person talked about, well, there's renter's insurance, but right now my parents need heat, and I'm concerned about their health, so renter's insurance has got nothing to do with anything. But down the road, I mean, and Pruitt, you said it, how many of that 200?
Well, I mean,
does that help with the relocation?
A lot of places will require that you have renter's insurance and have proof of it in order to live there.
You said a lot of places.
No, I'm saying a lot of places do, and it's almost standard now. And renter's insurance is fairly cheap. It's $10 a month a lot of times. But the point I'm getting at, it only covers, I thought, you gave them a value of materials that you had, and it covered the replacement cost or some cost as relates to your stuff in there. Right. But it doesn't cover if you had to put a new deposit down to get that, and lost rent or what. I don't know. Every policy may not be the same.
And this is an act of nature. Some of the insurance companies write it all off.
No, renter's insurance cover that.
If it's an act of nature.
No, renter's insurance, it doesn't.
Some of them do not cover it.
Some of them don't, but here's the most interesting point, right? I'm sure that building had insurance.
Oh, yes.
And I'm sure that they're paying for those hotels off of probably the insurance.
Gotcha.
I'm not understanding why they are not making sure that these people get a home first before they terminate the hotel cost.
Right.
Are they collecting rent?
Who?
Are they still collecting rent?
No,
Do you know
what they
that?
did, what they did was they said, we're going to give back the January rent,
Right. And
we're going to give it, and we're going to give you
deposit.
back your deposit.
Okay.
Right? So that's the starter money. But when we talk about what are they really doing for the people and for their emotional, the mental state, and all of that, because this was an inconvenience that was off the building. And the other thing is, the reason why the way I'm like I am is because of the fact of there's a lack of communication, and they're not saying anything to everybody as to what's really going on.
Let me ask you a hypothetical question. Based on everything you know now, if you don't mind, your parents are how old?
My mom is 93 and my father is 92.
Okay, so these are two early 90-year-old couple.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, what if they didn't have any kids or any relatives?
That's right.
That's what I'm saying. That's the reason.
And I'm quite sure there's some people in the building
they
that
don't.
probably don't have
They don't.
relatives.
Absolutely.
And the reason why I'm the way that I am, God has blessed me to be able to bless my parents.
Sure.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my parents are okay. They're doing good.
You got them.
Yeah, they good. You know what I mean? And they'll tell you, oh, we thank you, thank you, right? But my point is, what about the parents and the senior citizens in that building that don't have a BJ?
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
That is the issue.
That right there is the reason I'm saying everything I'm saying, and I want to let everybody know I'm not saying this secondhand.
Right.
This is not secondhand smoke, secondhand information.
Right.
This is firsthand. I've been watching this for the last couple of weeks and just taking my notes and saying, okay. And then I'm looking for the fairness in all of this.
But you know what, Pruitt, it still goes back, and we've been arguing this point as far as nursing homes for a long time. And now it's like we keep putting our finger in the dam to keep it from bursting, but now the dam has bursted. And so we talk about Northview, and now we're talking about Heritage, and you've got nursing homes in the rural communities.
And the Mark Twain Hotel downtown.
And the Mark Twain Hotel. And a lot of these facilities are 1-star rating. If you got a 5-star rating, a lot of these facilities are 1-star rating, which means much below average. And so if we say that the owners should be held accountable, a lot of these owners are out-of-state owners. A lot of these owners are out-of-state owners, and they own more than one facility. So then, Pruitt, and you and I talked about it, who is doing anything to plug up these holes?
Well, one thing that recently happened in that Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard introduced Board Bill 176, and I think they read it last Friday for the first time, and it's to establish a impact tenants fund.
Got it. To
provide dollars and stuff to tenants who are in these exact situations. Even though I'm reading the definition of tenant, and so when they had to debate this bill, I might have to step in because it said tenant should mean a resident of the city who legally occupies a rental dwelling unit with the property owner's consent and is obligated to pay rent. You got me. So you, other words, you have to have at least you have to have at least that pay rent. But I'm like, there could be people in the building. Right. In other words, say if the building that happened to the building, somebody was squatting. They don't get it.
In other words, one size doesn't fit all.
Well, I'm saying that if they're in the building and the building gets shut down, and everybody has to leave, and some people in the building illegally, they're in the building. Now, the owner hadn't got them out of there because in some ways they couldn't evict them. If put it this way, even if they squatting and they in the building without a lease and paying rent, one's supposed to be there.
Right.
In Missouri, you still have to go through the eviction process to remove them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? The other thing that we didn't mention, we talk about 200 residents at a Heritage House, but we also go back, when we talk about Northview, you're also talking about the displacement of workers as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got 200 residents, you've got at least 100 workers.
Well, this is not a nursing home,
That's
not a
not a
heritage.
nursing home.
Not a heritage.
But
they do have they have maintenance.
But still, you still got staff.
You got staff. You got some staff there.
Yeah, you still got staff.
You got some staff there, and I think there's a person that was a maintenance guy, and he was trying to figure out where he was going to go. And I think sometimes in situations like that, being that it's a senior building, if they're seniors, some of the people get an opportunity to stay on site as they work there.
Right.
I do believe that. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times with an apartment building, the maintenance guys stay on site. So something happens, he can get up, emergency, he go do that. Now, what about them that was staying there and now they're displaced?
You're right. Well, you know what? As I said, I'm glad that Alderwoman Clark Hubbard took the initiative with this Board Bill 176. I know that Alderwoman Laura Keys, I think Heritage House is in her ward. And I do know, in speaking to her and others, is that, they responded. There are a lot of different organizations that, right now who are responding, trying to make sure that people get the type of stuff that they need. And I asked somebody, they're talking about non-perishable food, healthy snacks, water bottles, socks and undergarments. I mean, you mentioned it. Adult diapers for men and women, toiletries, caps, gloves, gift cards. Now, right now, I'm not going to tell you who to deal with because there are about 5 different organizations out there doing it. And because I haven't checked out anybody's credentials and credibility, because, sometimes people look at disaster and set up scams. And so Point Black is not going to tell you who you should be dealing with. You got to do your own evaluation and analysis and determine what organization you want to give to that's purportedly, helping. I will kind of say Action St. Louis is out there. They're pretty reputable. I do want to just say, though, as far as legislation, though, Pruitt, in addition to what Alderwoman Clark Hubbard is doing, I know nationally, home and community-based services, trying to boost funding to state programs to expand access to people who need these services. But we need state to come in. We need local municipalities to come in. But as far as the money is concerned, that's money when something happens. I'm a big prevention guy, BJ. I believe that there needs to be legislation in place because we know that these predators are out there. We know that these owners, this is not their first rodeo. And they know the loopholes. We need to begin to plug the loopholes of those.
Yeah, but I don't know. So we don't know enough about the Heritage House situation and some of the other ones because when they have this extreme cold, heat can go out. If the heat goes out, pipes are going to freeze. And if they freeze, they're going to burst. But the question is has it happened before?
Let me say this before we go to break. They were having heating issues before the weather got that cold.
Okay, right.
So my question is, why come they didn't get it fixed before that day?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it was some issues before that day, and they knew of it.
And if government has come in and shut them down, they're not just shutting them. In my
That's
estimation,
the nursing home.
The nursing, right?
They shut down, not the apartments.
But even going back to Heritage House, didn't it? And correct me if I'm wrong, but they can't. Can they go back into Heritage House?
No. But they had to shut it down after the disaster.
Right.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more on Point Blank. We're talking about displaced. And we're back, and Daryl was about to shut down every building in St. Louis. Shut them down, Daryl. Shut them down. Shut them down, Daryl.
Listen, if there are nursing homes, buildings, units in our city, in our region, that are not taking care of our folk, and I'm not saying, I'm talking about looking forward. I'm talking about being able to say, if this happens, this is our plan. If this happens, this is our plan. That's what I'm talking about. I am sick and tired.
And actually, but here's the issue. Just going back to Northview, the state has a plan. And when the Northview shut down, they did implement the emergency shutdown plan.
But they knew that Northview wasn't up to par, Adolphus.
But you said that, but they had a plan in place for when they have to act like that. And the plan, they instituted the plan.
And they did get the people out. And they got the people out.
And they had a plan already.
But they got the people out. But that was not the full extent of the plan. They had the evacuation plan.
I mean, I'm saying that to that extent. I'm saying that if it's a nursing facility and it's operating poorly, now either you go in there and shut it down and don't allow it to operate, or you allow it to operate and you have a contingency plan in place that if you had to shut it down, you step in and do it, and that's what they did.
You know what I'm looking for?
They didn't do it as proficiently as we thought, but they have a fund.
You know what I'm looking for, Pruitt?
Yeah,
oversight.
Oversight, okay.
I'm looking for oversight. At the end of the day, I'm looking for oversight.
And they had that. That's why they rated them down as the
but we can't do it. We keep doing stuff after the fact.
But
you can't. Waiting.
I'm saying either when they got to that bottom line rating, either you shut them down there, or you. But according to they can. So here's I guess what I'm saying is you're allowed to operate at a D. You got A, B, C, and D.
Because some people can only afford a D.
And when you get to F, when you get to F, they shut you down.
But that's the point.
But they were at D.
Yeah.
They were at D. What caused Northview, the issue was money. It was time to make payroll, and the owners didn't want to put in no more money. It wasn't because of the condition of the building.
Agreed.
The owner decided that the owner decided we got to pay them today.
We out of here.
And we got to pay them today, and we ain't got all the money in the bank. Shut it down.
right.
But we talk about, and when I say oversight, though, Adolphus and BJ, I'm talking about something that covers both of these. And I get what Adolphus is saying. The problem that I have is that when you have a facility that's gotten to a D, and you allow it to operate, and you have individuals that can only afford a D. There's some individuals that can afford an A rating place. And usually at an A rating place, you got the amenities and you got the securities and the safeguards. But when you get to a D, that's the most vulnerable. Them people in there.
But if you looked at the report, BJ, all of the nursing homes in the region were about it. We're at C minus and D.
And most of them are all by the same person, BJ.
They were at C minus and D. So I mean, they went from one D to a new D. They moved from one D. But hold on. But BJ, here's what I want to ask you. Going forward, how are things with your parents? How do you see things going forward? And have you heard what's happening with some of the other tenants about their ability to move forward? What does forwardness look like for you as somebody who's taking care of your parents?
Well, fortunately for us is that my parents are in a good position, and they will end up with a place to stay. That is going to happen, and I'm so grateful about that. There are people that I talked to the lady today. And she was sharing with me, things were not looking bright for her because she was going to the housing fair, and that's like a lottery. Right. So she taking the application, she put it in, and they're gonna choose who they choose, that type of thing. So, it's people like that I'm very, very concerned about. But like I said, my parents, fortunate for them, they'll have a place to stay, and that's that's going to happen. So I'm pretty excited about that.
And the other person, she's saying that she's saying the housing first. She went and made
She's
application.
engaging, but she's going, "Ooh, Lord Jesus, I don't know."
You just don't know.
But she was a person that took care of my parents.
Oh,
She
okay.
was hired, by a health
Right.
agency, and she stayed in the building and was took care of my parents for a while.
Right.
So and my heart is just going out to her because I'm going, man, what is it I can, is there any trying to figure out if there's anything I can do for her, and there's a lot of people that are in that predicament, and I just think that with the Heritage House situation, there should have been better management.
Right.
Because in cases like this, I should have gotten a call.
Right.
I did not get a call.
Right.
I think that they should have been able to look at that building a little bit more closer.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were going to, decide not to, reopen, I'm
Right.
pretty sure. Let me say this. I'm pretty sure that whatever conditions with that building just didn't happen that day.
That was my point.
You know what I'm saying? It didn't happen that day.
Right.
So I'm sure a year or 2 years ago, they knew something was wrong, and they could have alerted people and say, you have 2 years to find a place to stay because we're going to be, the conditions of this building is this way. So for me, it's like these people spent their money, right, to house themselves with the ideal that they had a permanent situation.
Right.
But
and even mental security too. You got mental
that's
security.
what I'm saying.
Right.
Mental, emotional.
Right.
This is gonna be probably my last home.
Right.
You know how you do. This is my last home.
Yeah.
That type of thing. But I'm pretty sure that somebody knew something,
Exactly.
and they knew that condition of that building was not going to last the years that.
That's why I stress oversight.
That's where I am with that.
Yeah.
And you can't prove that.
Right. That's true.
But how do you hold people accountable with the ideal that there was a heating issue with that building when the weather was kind of, you know what I mean?
And the bigger question is this: is that so? Here's what, based on my knowledge, here's what happens. My knowledge of real estate and all this. When the building lost heat, at some point in time, had somebody in the building called the city health department and somebody ain't complained, they would have sent an inspector out. The inspector would have determined that the building's not have had heat and could have said the conditions are so bad. And here's what you have to worry about. The conditions so bad, I'm shutting the building down. So the same thing they went through, they would be going through,
Right.
except this oversight. The inspector would have got there, say, okay, there's no running water in the building or no heat, and this building, we shutting this building down is not habitable for the people in here, which means that instantly, again, they would have to vacate the building and go somewhere. Now that's what would.
But to your point, though, Pruitt, to your point, and I get that process. But if you are responsible for hundreds of people, knowing that natural disaster or whatever, life happens, you should have an exit strategy for these people. And that exit strategy should be clear, it should be plain, it should be known. And so that's my point.
And I'm saying that every apartment building complex, you got people that owns 2 and 4 family flats.
Gotcha.
They're responsible for their renters. The water, the pipes can burst in their building.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it is. I just think it's going to be unrealistic to require everybody who rents to somebody to have a viable exit plan.
And I'm not talking about everybody. And I know we got to go. And I'm not talking about everybody, but I am talking about in the cases that we've seen, the most vulnerable. I'm talking specifically more about seniors.
But the Heritage House is not strictly a senior building. Am I right or wrong?
Well, it was a senior building, and then they started allowing other people to stay there.
Yeah, so it's not strictly a senior building.
So you're still talking about seniors and low income.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm still talking
everybody
about.
in there, it may not be income restricted either.
I got you. I follow what you're saying.
The point I'm trying to get at is that I think Shameen's bill is going in the right direction. I think the issue needs to be explored even more, where that when these things happen, that the city, if necessary, can step in immediately, give the people what they need, and then seek reimbursement from the property owner if the property owner don't act. And you know what I'm talking about? And sending them to a hotel. Because let's think about it, when the immigrants come in, the immigration issue, they putting them up in hotels.
Right.
They doing exactly what these folks
Because
did.
they're vulnerable.
But the thing of it is that the city, I have to say, they have been doing a great job because they have stepped in and started doing some things, and a lot of stuff. They're you know, you have that onion. They're peeling back.
Kudos to the city.
You know, a lot of layers and stuff like that. So the mayor's office they are involved.
Kudos
and
to
I
the
know
mayor's
that
office
firsthand because we've had I've had conversations with them, and they told me a lot of stuff that they're going through to try to fix stuff. And what is it? Action St. Louis.
Action St. Louis.
So they ended up a couple of days ago contacting me about my parents' family.
Right.
Okay.
You know,
because I understand they're coordinating on the scene.
They were doing wellness checks and stuff like that.
I want to say before we leave out now, I just want to make sure I jump in here and do this. Anybody that wants to give comments in reference to our show, remember you can always go to the iHeartRadio app. You can type in Point Black. When you do that, there'll be a talkback mic, a talkback button. Press that button. Talk back. You can go to any social media platform and type in Point Black STL. Leave us a comment. Give us some suggestions. We'll be more than happy to get your comments and respond to your suggestions.
Yeah, and you know, I think I'm glad to hear that about the city. But again, one of the biggest problems going to come in, and I don't know how it can be addressed, because when it had a cold weather like this, the pipes could have burst in. Well, they did. Heritage House one day, then the 200 people down at the Mark Twain Hotel 2 days later. Yep. And so you got all these people, other than putting them in hotels, the question is even when you move them out, are there enough vacant available units
spend some of that ARPA money. We got Rams money. We got ARPA money. Sure. We need to make sure that there's housing for seniors and economically disadvantaged people.
Daryl, don't you miss it. What I'm saying is that everybody's in somewhere now.
Right.
To have 200, 400, 600 apartments vacant sitting there where just in case.
Yeah,
well, no, you can't do that. You can't do that.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a good show. We was talking about Displaced. And we want to thank you for doing what you need to do to step up for your parents. You know what? May God bless you. May God bless your parents. And may God bless all our listeners. And we'll see you the next time on Point Black.
Thank you guys for having me on the show.